Greetings from the great state of Pennsylvania. My name's Brett, and this is Topo Ranger for February 17th, 2026. The great melting looks like it may have started. Just hanging here, kicking it with my main dude here, Perry. That's my cat. His name is Perry Farrell. As I've alluded to before, someday we will talk about the origin story of Perry Farrell, aka Black Seamus. All right, guys, so what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to escape. We're going to get away. Again, this seems to be a theme here, right? During the cold winter months, I just want to get out of here. If I can't physically, I'm going to do it mentally. I'm going to go out, explore the world via the internet, and bring what I find and share it with you. And I want to escape, right? I heard that song Key Largo the other day. It's like a classic 80s, I think it's early 80s. I can't remember the name, but I was watching the video. It comes under this yacht rock thing. Nowadays they're calling it yacht rock, but we didn't call it yacht rock back in the 80s. We just called it I don't know, easy listening, mellow gold. And it talks about this guy who has a relationship. He falls in love in the Keys, the Florida Keys. And he just has this classic line where he's slipping away to Key Largo, right? Slipping away. Let's just slip away. Close your eyes. Imagine, if you will, a volcanic island off the coast of Morocco. Dramatic cliffs, sea caves, tidal pools, magic sand. Well, not magic, but healing sand. History. And all kinds of stuff like that. And it's warm. It's just warm there. Water's like 74, 75. That's where we're going. And the name of this island is Porto Santo. And this is what it looks like. Now, if we pull out a little bit, hopefully this is not too laggy. What we're going to see is that Porto Santo is a little bit north of the island of Madeira, which is pretty well known. All right. So why don't we just start off first with the pronunciation of this place, because the people there speak. I'm pretty sure the people there speak Portuguese. All the words are in Portuguese, and in an attempt to get some pronunciations, there's going to be a lot of place names, right? In an attempt to get the pronunciation correct, I have employed this Google Translate. I may not be able to say these things very well, but I want you to at least to be able to hear what it would sound like in the native language.
Ilha do Porto Santo.
Ilha de Porto Santo, the island of Porto Santo. So why don't we start off with a little basic information? Porto Santo, it's 45 kilometers northeast of Madeira. Takes you about 2.5 hours to get there by boat from the capital, Funchal. I'm not really sure if I'm saying that right. That's a Portuguese word too. The position of the Porto Santo to the northeast as the Earth's crust moves in a northeasterly direction. So it's on the tectonic plate, and everything is moving in a northeasterly direction. And it's actually moving at 1.5 centimeters per year. And it lies over an active hotspot. Okay, so a hotspot is a place like Hawaii is a hotspot too, where magma, and it comes up from below the seafloor, creates a mountain, right? And then creates an island. But because the crust is moving very slowly, but it is moving over millions of years, you get a chain of islands. If you look at the Hawaiian Islands, you'll see that, I'm not sure which direction they're moving in, but it's the same thing happened over there. And that's what's happening here. And because Porto Santo is above Madeira, it's older than Madeira, right? Because it was a hot spot, and then another hot spot is created. So the average speed of the crust moving is 1.5 centimeters per year, like a fingernail. I've often heard that the tectonic plates move basically about as fast as your fingernail grows. Porto Santo is therefore many millions of years older than Madeira. The oldest rocks are only dated to 5.2 million years in Madeira. It's a distinctive skyline. It is defined by the skeletons of volcanoes, the interior and the most erosion-resistant part of a Miocene volcanic complexes. The island formed submarine, underwater, hotspot during the early and middle Miocene. The Miocene is just an epoch or a period of time that they have named that. Geologists have decided to call it Miocene. And that, in this case, it started about 19 million years ago, followed by subaerial volcanism, which I think just means volcanoes not underwater, but above the water, subaerial, below the air. Subaerial volcanism during the middle and late Miocene, starting about 14 million years ago. From 10 million years ago, the volcanic activity was limited to a formation of a few dikes, right? Dikes. What are dikes? Well, if you've watched any of our Susquehanna River videos here, you'll know that a dike is where a magma shoots up in between already existing rock layers. It can be like a vertical thing. It can also be like what they call a sill, I think, which is a flat thing. So then you had these dikes forming, which define the present landscape, such as Pico do Fascio, right? Pico do Fascio, peak, that's a mountain. Because the softer rock around the dikes has eroded away, volcanism ended 8 million years ago. Okay, so you have this moving hotspot. It's creating these volcanic islands. Once they're formed, they can become like abandoned, basically, and this hotspot moves as well. The hotspot doesn't move, but the crust moves. And then, of course, you get stuff moving in there to populate it. In terms of the plants and the biology, there was a first phase. The island was colonized by pioneer species of lichens and birophytes. Development of pioneer communities created conditions for the land to host more complex plant communities, vascular plants. And then, since then, millions of years of evolution have continued. Characteristic land, coastal, and marine ecosystems of the Macronesian biogeographic region can be found on the island of Porto Santo. The flora and fauna of the forests, which were predominant in Europe during the Tertiary period, are noteworthy. So it sounds like they have a kind of a bioscheme going on here that kind of hints back to an earlier phases where what it might look like on Europe. The Macronesian biogeographic region, it's just a geographic region, and it's typified by certain biology, plants and animals and stuff like that. One of the things I noticed while doing the research for this video was, especially underwater, we're going to look at one or two diving videos, is that, number one, there's this amazing blue quality to the water, at least in some of the videos, and I think most in all of them. I've never seen water like this. It just has this very distinctive blue color. And underneath the water, it doesn't strike me as being anything like what you might see in the Bahamas or, say, off the coast of Florida or in the Caribbean. It just has a totally different vibe. I liken it to somewhat kind of like the Pacific Northwest if you went scuba diving up there with all the kelp, and it's just very different. And that's something that we'll talk about more when we actually view those videos. So islands, millions of years old, lots of volcanism. One of the interesting things you'll find on Porto Santo is this idea of the healing sands. There is a very long beach that runs along the southeastern coast of this thing. 9-kilometer long sandy beach, almost the entire south coastline. Okay, the sandy beach is a popular tourist destination and it is used to be a well-known place for sand therapy. Okay, well, what is sand therapy? It's a good question, right? Okay. The island is surrounded by a 5 to 100 meters deep abrasion platform, which formed up to 18,000 years ago. Also, the source of the aforementioned sedimentary deposits. The sea level was then 130 meters lower than it is now. For Porto Santo, this meant that the area above sea level must have been 5 times larger than the current area of 42 kilometers. So at the peak of the last ice age, when a lot more of the Earth's water was locked up in the glaciers, the oceans were 400 feet lower, so the footprint of Porto Santo would have been much larger. There are also these little islets. There's a whole bunch of islets off the coast, and they all were, when the water was lower, all these islets were connected. It's a platform, right? And then they developed a reef, and then the volcanism started, right? I think that's how it went. But these healing sands, I think, are just I never heard of anything like this before I actually read this article. Scientists from the University of Oslo in Norway and the University of Aveiro in mainland Portugal found that the carbonate biogenic sands that cover Porto Santo's 9 kilometers of uninterrupted golden beach are high in calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, sulfur, and strontium, all extremely helpful in the relief of rheumatism and other arthritic complaints, not to mention gout, osteoporosis, and fibromyalgia. So apparently people with these conditions go here and they get this thing called sand therapy. And apparently some people swear by it. In fact, a very famous soccer player swears by it. There's only 2 beaches in the world that have such biologically helpful properties: Porto Santo and Ibusuki Beach in southern Japan. The prescribed method at Porto Santo, as you can witness if you take a stroll along the shore on a nice warm sunny day, is to be buried up to your neck in health-enhancing silica. Now, silica is sand, right? A lot of beaches are silica, right? Silicon dioxide. But the sand here is it has some volcanic stuff in it, but I think it's mostly composed of biogenic, which is carbonate sands. So it's little pieces of mollusks and little skeletons of little algae, right? And it's basically kind of like limestone, but in a sand form. So you bury yourself up to your neck and you just sit there in the hot sands for at least an hour or 2. It says your skin gets hot enough to perspire to get the full effect. Repeat on a daily basis for at least 5 to 6 days, and you'll be as good as new. So you start sweating. The only thing I think is that as you sweat and the heat builds up, perhaps your sweat helps to kind of dissolve some of those minerals, and you soak it up. I mean, how else can it happen? If it's going to get into your body, it's got to go through your skin, right? Now, there's this soccer player named Cristiano Ronaldo, and he swears by it. He was experiencing some thigh muscle issues in 2018. The Madeira so I didn't know Ronaldo was actually born in Madeira. He's a soccer superstar accompanied by his mother, Dolores, headed to Porto Santo for a weekend to take the treatment, right? You know how back in the Victorian times they would say, I'm going to go take the healing waters? Well, here you go, you take the healing sands. And he has not looked back since. In fact, it was rumored he took some Porto Santo away with him, which you're strictly not supposed to. So he stole some sand and he better give it back. Cut action. So you go there, you bury yourself in the sand, and you just chill out for a while, and apparently it works for all those. And those are pretty serious conditions as far as I'm concerned. So not only is it a very interesting island geologically, there is actual health benefits stemming from the geology itself. The first feature we're gonna mention here is called the fenda-beja-porto-santo. Now I'm not saying that right. That's why I have this here in the translate. That's going to help me know how to actually say these things.
Fenda de Dona Beja.
Notice how the D is like J instead of D.
Fenda de Dona Beja.
Okay, which basically means Dona Beja's crack. And it is, in fact, just that. It's a crack in the sand. I'm gonna go here and get a picture. And this is looking up. And essentially what it is, I think it's part of that the sand. There's a lot of sand on this island. Some places there's sand up on the cliffs. And I think that this is a little canyon cut through the sand. And that's kind of like what it looks like. Hey, here's looking at you, kid. And we're going to check out a video to see what this fenda-beja-porto-santo the crack, what the crack looks like. And this is from Lugares y Cantigas. That's the name of this channel. And the name of the channel is, or the name of the video is I'm just going to not even try to do the pronunciations correctly. Each feature, I'll play the translation so that you can hear what it actually sounds like. But you can see there's this is sand, right? This is this biogenic sand. And you're going, and I think this is the volcanic. This is more gravel. So you're kind of going across the landscape here. And then there's this ladder, right? And you're like, okay, this is nice. We got some sand. We got a ladder. What is going on here? You go up this ladder. And then right off the beach, right off the water, you have this, it's basically a slot canyon that has been eroded out of this biogenic, it's called eolianite sands, which just means sand that's derived from biological processes. That's why I call it biogenic formation, and then bio meaning like biology, right? And there's what it looks like. There's one of the islets right there. Okay, and this is actually, there's another area there's another spot that we're going to go over, and we'll go in more detail about it, that deals with this sand. But this is what initially caught my eye about this about this island, was I kind of randomly, I think, came across a video of this crack. And you have these little erosional features, right? And this is what it looks like. It's essentially a slot canyon. And as we go into this sucker, it has just these very, very cool erosional features. And there's also a lot of rock and carvings. I don't know historically how historical these things are. Some of them probably are. It gets narrow. And then basically you go up here and you go into this little slot canyon. And it doesn't go in too far, but it does go in there. There's probably more like this on the island. And then you come out. See that? You got these little Portuguese inscriptions here. And the light, I mean, you could even go here during when the light's not so bright. It probably would be very good. Again, photo op. This whole island is one giant photo op if you're into geology. Okay, yeah. So that was Lugares y Cantigas video. And that is what's known as the fenda-beja-porto-santo. I'm sorry, I'm a little logy today. I've been fighting off this weird thing for like 3-4 days now. It's like it's trying to get me and just crush me, but it's like, so I'm a little bit lower key today. Okay, like I said, that's what kind of got me turned on to this place. And then our next feature that we're going to look at is Mirador de Fonte de Areia. So let's listen to how this is supposed to sound when you say it. That's good. So, yeah, okay.
Miradouro da Fonte da Areia.
Fonte da Areia.
Miradouro da Fonte da Areia.
Okay. Fonte de Areia. Areia, Viewpoint. Now, doesn't that kind of sound like Italian to you? Right? If I didn't know better, I'd be like, oh, it sounds like somebody is talking Italian. No, I think that's Portuguese. So you look at this, and Portuguese is a Romance language, right? So you can look at the words. If you're able to like read a little bit of Spanish or French or Italian, when you look at the words, they kind of look familiar. Mira, da Fonte, Areia, right? So when I see Areia, I think arenaceous, which is like sandy. Fonte, that to me, that sounds like Fonte de Vaucluse, right? There's that one in France. Fount, to me, that's like a fountain. And Mirador, mira means like to look, right? So I'm thinking, what's going on here? And if we take this aside and we put like that, it actually translates into English as sand fountain.
Fonte da Areia.
Notice how it's the TE is ch and not T. So in Spanish, you might say Fonte da Areia, but it's
Fonte da Areia.
Isn't that cool? right? And if we do this in Spanish, it would be Fuente de Areia, which is very close, okay? First off, let's go ahead and look at, So let's go ahead and just give you a basic breakdown here. The Miradoro de Fonte Areia is a scenic observation point. It's on the northern coast of Porto-Santo Island. It's known for its dramatic geological formations, right? The area is dominated by eolianites, sandy rock formations sculpted over centuries by wind and sea erosion. And one thing you get with this sandy stuff is what are called Tafoni, Swiss cheese rock, sandstone. If you've ever been out west, or actually anywhere, I mean, you can go to West Virginia and find this stuff. It's these cool little holes that form in sandstone. They're also known as honeycomb weathering, or Swiss cheese rock. Tafoni are small, rounded, smooth-edged openings in the rock surface, most often found in arid or semi-arid deserts. And as I went along and was looking at this stuff, this sandy stuff pops up at various locations, and you see this stuff, which is Tafoni, right? On the coast beyond the village of Camacha, you find the Fonte de Areia. Here, wind and Atlantic storms have molded the soft sandstone cliffs into fantastical shapes like giant surrealistic, oh my God, my brain is slow today. Surrealistic sculpture. A path leads down past an old drinking fountain built in 1843 through a grove of palms and wildflowers to a little pebbly beach with rock pools. There was a spring here at one point that apparently back in antiquity, it was considered to be the purest spring. It was basically like a sacred site for the locals. Oh yeah, I wanted to do for the pics because they're good, right? So this is going to be the fountain. This is the area called the Fountain of Sand, and they have walkways. Here you can see the cliffs. That's looking out. That's a little sea stack there. And you walk down through, there's a cut in this stuff, in this sand. And that's what it looks like, right? What's going on at this sand fountain? There are extensive accumulations of biogenic carbonate sandstone. So biogenic means created through biological processes, little pieces of shells of mollusks, the skeletons of algae, the calcium carbonate skeletons of algae, classified as eolianites, caused by the centuries-old action of the wind. So all this stuff that you see here at the sand fountain, all this sand was emplaced by the wind. Eolianites are the bedrock of the current sand on Porto Santo Beach. And those are the healing sands, whose sandy particles are mostly made up of fragments of mollusk shells and calcareous algae, a legacy of the marine life that once may have existed here. So in the Fonte de Areia, these carbonate sandstones are about 40 meters thick, which is probably, 130 feet. Around Porto Santo, a vast limestone platform developed in the tropical waters from the Miocene onwards. When sea levels dropped sharply due to the Pleistocene ages, right? Like I said before, all the water's trapped up in the glaciers. The limestone platform dried up. The limestone grains, a result of erosion, were transported by the predominantly northerly winds to the central part of the island. So everything blown up there at Fonte de Areia as petrified dunes. Those are the eolianites. That's another way to say it. Petrified dunes that are like cemented together with calcium carbonate, which actually gets me thinking about this might also be what's going on at that island with the lava tubes that have calcite formations in them, because as we know from the last video, it's overlain by calcareous sand. The sand deposits are up to tens of meters thick with fossils of snails and plant roots. They thrived in a more humid climate about 30,000 years ago. So here are these walkways that we had seen before. Here's some of these cool erosional Tafoni type features. Here you can just see layers and layers of sand, right? Stretching off into the distance. This is the sand fountain. Next up, we're going to go to Portos dos Frades. These are volcanic tide pools. And this is photogenic. This to me Seems like it's a pretty popular spot on Porto Santo. The volcanic tide pools is a stunning off the beaten path spot on the east coast of Porto Santo Island. And it's part of the Portugal's Madeira archipelago. It's famous for its piscinas naturais do Porto dos Frades, right? Natural tidal pools carved into ancient volcanic rock by the Atlantic Ocean. These crystal clear turquoise pools form at low tide, creating sheltered havens for perfect swimming. Let's take a little peek at the pics here, right? So tide comes up, tide goes out, you're left with this water, and that's where you go swimming. And as you can see in this picture here, let's open this up. These things are looking pretty nice, right? So you go there at the right time. You don't want to go there probably during high tide because this whole stuff, this is all going to be overrun with foaming wave action. But if you go there at the right time, this is what you get. Pretty cool, right? I would be into hanging out there for a little while. The black basalt rocks contrast with the vibrant blue waters, forming a dramatic otherworldly landscape. The pools are shallow, calm, ideal for all ages, though currents can pick up at high tide. So, don't leave your kid in there because they might get swept out during high tide. You can also go snorkeling. Snorkeling, scuba diving is definitely something that goes on Porto Santo. Visibility often exceeds 20 meters, right? So like 65 feet. That's pretty good. Here's this area around the tide pools. This is another beach that we'll talk about in a second, right? You got to bring water shoes, snorkel gear, sun protection. This is kind of a ground level view of the tidal pools. One here. And if you look at it on on Google Earth or whatever, you can see there's like one really big one, and then there's all these subsidiary tidal pools. I mean, I could easily spend a whole day here. And I did notice in other pictures that outside of this main area where most people just go here, they check it out, and then they leave. If you go down into these areas here and also the other way up the coast, there are these isolated tidal pools elevated up on the cliffs, which I thought was pretty neat. You have these dramatic cliffs, right? So this would be the southern end of the island. This would really be the beginning of that 9-kilometer long Healing Sands beach. It runs up here, over to here, and then boom, you get around to the northern part of the island. This side of the island looks like this, right? Just very dramatic. Kind of reminds me of parts of California. Next stop, we're going to go to, well, let's just straight off go to translate so we can hear what the name of this location sounds like in the actual language before I mutilate it.
Praia do Zimbralinho.
Praia do Zimbralinho. Praia do Zimbralinho. That's Zimbralinho Beach. Praia meaning beach, I guess, in Portuguese.
Let us hydrate.
Because of the geology of this area, you just have all these little hidden coves. I mean, there's hundreds of them, some big, some small. It's just that whole side of the island, which is really what, to me, is the most attractive thing. You could spend weeks just exploring the coastline. Okay, so the Praia de Zimbralinho is it's a secluded pebble beach on the southwestern coast of Porto Santo. It's a hidden gem known for its dramatic volcanic cliffs, crystal clear turquoise waters, and peaceful vibe. That would be nice, right? Peaceful. In a world awash in chaos and violence, I could go sit at this beach for a day and just meditate. It often feels like you're at a private cove. So there is a path that goes down here like this. And as you can see, this cliff is several hundred feet high. And you get these little inlets, these little coves, right? And you can go down, and it's a pebble beach. It's not a sandy beach. And during certain times of the day, I would imagine you don't get the sun coming in there. But look at this. Water's clear, pretty warm. Like I said, I think it's 74, 75. And the cliffs have multicolor stuff. It's really cool. And you can just see the visibility is really good. So you can go snorkeling down in here. Right? If you can make it down here, you can go snorkeling. Look, there's all these interesting, cool little features. And we're going to watch a video here in a second of people scuba diving. Location and setting. Nestled in the bay between Pico de Flores and Morenos. Morenos is another spot we're going to hit. The beach is framed by towering basalt cliffs. Basalt is just that volcanic rock. From an ancient underwater volcano, the water is exceptionally clear, with rocky outcrops and a small pebble shore. It's shaded by the cliffs in the afternoon, making it cooler later in the day. Like I said, that's what I was saying there. And there's a nice little drop off. And there's a shot of it looking probably looks like a drone shot. So they have this little wooden handrail trail that looks like it was cut into the rock, goes down into here. And you can see over here you have this columnar basalt jointing, right? And you get that all, it seems like that's all over the island. And you can go swim. You can go swimming and get away from it all, right? Swim, snorkel, hike, explore, relax. This is another image of that part of the coast. There we go. Here, look at this. See this stack? It almost looks like a stack of firewood, but it's actually basalt. All these cliffs, you can see those columns, and that comes from the way that it cools. Ding, ding, ding. All right, up next on our little trolley tour, there's no trolley, but it'd be cool to take a trolley around, is a spot called Pico de Ferreira. Okay? As usual, we're going to have to translate just so we know what this actually sounds like. I may not be able to pronounce it, but it's good to know what these things actually sound like in the native language.
Pico de Ana Ferreira.
Pico de Ana Ferreira. Pico is peak. Ana Ferreira's peak. So Ana Ferreira's mountain basically is what this is. And there's several big volcanic picos on this island. And here at Pico de Ana Ferreira, we have some outstanding examples of these basalt columnar formations. One of the characteristic peaks, mountaintops of Porto Santo is the Pico de Ana Ferreira in the southwest. Basalt columns, magirite, were extracted in an old quarry. These mining activities determine the shape of the top. So they were mining at the top, and I think they were actually mining these basalt columns. These columns, which filled a crater pipe, right, are created by shrinkage during the cooling of magma. The rocks themselves are between 12.7 and 12.5 million years old. The surrounding rock eroded away, as did most of the volcanic complex. And on Ana Ferreira, okay, is this place, are these caves called the Gruta de Ana Ferreira. So on top of Ana Ferreira, in addition to those columns, which I'm pretty sure we have more pictures of those down here. And there also is a really cool video, which I think I'm gonna close out the video with this one here, which is this one right here. You see this video? This video is a real banger, and we're gonna I guess we'll finish with that. I mean, they did a great job on that. One of the interesting sites you can see on top of Ana Ferreira is called Ana Ferreira's cave. All right, and gruta is very similar to other Latin languages where the word for cave, is like grotto, gruta. It all stems from the same thing.
Gruta de Ana Ferreira.
Gruta de Ana Ferreira.
Gruta de Ana Ferreira.
That's Ana Ferreira's cave. Gruta. I thought I had more pictures of the grutas. That's weird. Anyway, basaltic prisms of the Pico. So like I said over here, as well as these caves, again, there's a video which shows them very well. I could have sworn I had a lot more pictures. It's weird. I wonder if I lost them. Okay, well, let's just look at a picture here. There. Look at that. So I guess what they were saying in that previous article was that there used to be a mine here, and they were mining this stuff perhaps. But yeah, these are these basaltic prismatic basalt columnar. I call it columnar joining. I always associate this with the Pacific Northwest because there's some cool waterfalls in like Oregon and stuff that are completely, I think one's actually for sale, I read the other day, that you have this huge waterfall coming. So imagine this, right? and there's a huge waterfall coming over it. So these things are forming, according to that other article, these things are forming in the throat of a volcano, and they cool a certain way at a certain speed, and they will then form into these cool columnar columns. And they also have these in Massachusetts. I lived in Massachusetts for a while, and there was a place there not far from the town of Northampton where you could just drive up, and the side of the mountain up there looked kind of like this. All right. And these are just very, very interesting visually. There's another one. Oh, okay. So this is the Gruta. This is the grotto at the top of Ana Ferreira. Now, there's more than one, but I think this one is the biggest one. And what you're looking at here are the Healing Sands beach, right? This 9-kilometer beach, which stretches up the southeast coast. And then over here, you have boom, boom, boom. And what this guy here is actually standing on are these remnants of these volcanic peaks. This is from a website called Dobrar Fronteiras. Or is it Jobrar? I gotta wonder about that. That's strange. I really could have sworn that I had more pictures of that. And another spot along the way here is the Parque de Marenes dos Morenos. And this is primarily, I featured this one primarily because it has this amazing multicolored volcanic cliff that just is, it's like out of this world.
Parque de Merendas dos Morenos. Parque de Merendas dos Morenos.
That's what it sounds like, Morenos Picnic Park. So this is a picnic park. But you'll see why it's so cool in a second. The coastal cliff of the Morenos area has a network of fissural volcanic conduits of varying nature, from mafic to felsic. These veins show several phases of magmatic ascent. So magma ascending from the depths of the earth, related to the different stages of volcanic activity on the island. And let's just hit this picture right here. Actually, hold on. I think I have this picture in a bigger form here. Yeah, right here. Look at that. What the heck is going on? That's a cliff on the island of Porto Santo. Look at all the different colors. And look, this is total, like, it's like abstract art. It's all volcanic. I think most of it but there might be some sand here. See, you see this right here? Here you got these little Tafoni things here going on. So this might be sand that got blown up into it. This might be sand. These things look like dikes. You have green, yellow, red, maroon. I mean, you got all these different colors. It's just amazing. So this is, and you can just go up there and you just look at this cliff. And then we're moving down here. We did the basaltic prisms. Okay, well, something else we have are these little islets. Like I said, there used to be, there are these islets around the main islet, and they were all connected, part of one much larger island when the sea levels were much lower in the past. And this is the islet of Cal. Right? And you can see the layers of the volcanic rock. I mean, this probably has stuff on it too, the sands. It's very close to the tip. Here's the beginning of the Porto Santo beaches. So you could probably, take a jet ski or a boat or a kayak and, kayak around this island. To me, this is like a perfect, this would be like a kind of a good example of a Bond villain's volcanic island lair, right? And these cliffs, there's not much vegetation, and these cliffs are high, right? And you got big chunks of it cracking off. And what is so interesting about this? Well, like other islets, it was once connected to the main island, and due to the action of erosive phenomena, its individualization occurred after the last glaciation and deposition of the Aeolian. It's just really hard to say that. My brain is not working. The blown sands during the Holocene, less than 10 to 12,000 years ago. Several galleries have been excavated in the limestone material. So they actually were mining this stuff because it had calcium carbonate in it. Okay, so there's two levels. This material that served the lime production industry, an activity that played an extremely important economic role in the archipelago, corresponds to carbonate marine sediments and fossilized coral reefs. Remember how we said before the volcano? Well, I mean, you got close to the surface, you had a reef, and then the volcanism started. In the middle Miocene, and which were formed at the top of the volcanic edifice during the pre-emergence phase of the island. So that's when the islands were just below the water. And here is another shot of the island of Cal. You don't have as many inlets here, but again, the water drops off. It's pretty deep. There you can see more of the sandy stuff along the beach, and then you have this layer here, and this looks like straight up basalt, perhaps. Although I don't know. It's complex, you know. This island has a lot of different stuff in terms of volcanic stuff going on. And here's a picture of the mine. So they were mining this stuff to use it to make cement or concrete cement and stuff like that. It'd be neat to go to this island and go check out these mines. I don't know where they are. Are they right here? I don't know. I mean, you'd have to figure that out. I'm sure you could find, if you go to places, I'm sure you could find out where these things are and get a boat, rent a boat, or just have somebody take you out there. But these are what these mines look like. And they go back in there. And it looks like people are going back in there, right? That would be a fun explore. This is a site that I found pretty useful when I was researching this island. And again, all this stuff will be in the links in the description, so you can go check out this stuff. And it breaks down a whole bunch of the features. You have the beach, right? Porto Santo. You have Little Dome, Morenos, Anafaredas Peak, Serra de Dentro, which is one of the volcanic peaks, Cabrita Peak. That's another one of the leftover volcanic peaks. Fountain of Sand, right? That's where you have all that sand in that old spring. And the island of Cima Pedro and the island of Cima Cabello, das Laranjas, and the Isle of Cal. It's kind of jargony in a sense that if you go to this site, you know, it's oriented towards geology. So it's not like, I don't know, maybe you don't want to read a bunch of stuff like this. That's one of the things I'm trying to do, is try to take stuff like this and put it in a way that makes sense without having to know all about the jargon. Because in a sense, sometimes if you're reading about geology, you can get so bogged down in the jargon that you could lose interest, because I don't know what all these words mean. I used to follow, or I still do perhaps, there's a geology professor on Instagram. I might have lost it when I lost my first Instagram, when Zuckerberg axed my first Topo Ranger. And yes, I still hold a grudge about that. I think that's where I was following that, and then I lost him. Now I can't remember the name of the feed, but he was a professor, and he would have these posts about geology, and he was also funny. He was also a good writer, and he would do a paragraph of text about the geology of something, maybe a field trip with his students or whatever, and he would shovel in so much obscure jargon that for most people, it's like gibberish. And then he would also kind of fold humor into it. So he would just hit you with a wall of jargon, and you'd be reading it, and it was excessive. It was grotesque how, and he did it on purpose. It's like loading this stuff onto you, and your brain is like, what? Now I know a little bit about geology, and I'm familiar with some basic terms, and a lot of times you can look at a term, and if you know what the roots of the term, the root words mean, you can kind of suss out maybe what they're talking about. So I would read this professor's posts, and it was like your brain, it's like you can feel your brain getting heavier. And I'd be like, well, I kind of know what he's talking about, but I'm not sure. And he would just hit you again. And you would just overload. And it was hysterical because he did it on purpose. Some of the people in the comments would be like, I can't read this. Why? Why can't you put this into words that make sense for the average person? It's like, that's the whole point. the whole point is that he's hitting you over the head with a 10-pound sledge called jargon. If I ever do find that feed again, I'll put it up I'll post it on the channel, because it's hysterical. But, you know, if you can translate all this jargon in a way that the average person who doesn't know anything about geology maybe could understand better, you know, it kind of opens up something where it's kind of locked. It's like this knowledge is like locked off. You got to know the jargon. Otherwise, you'd have no idea what's going on, right? We're going to kind of close this video out. Close this video out with a video. This channel is by Carlos Neves. Porto Santo diving Zimbralinho #1. And he has 2 of these videos here. One, and then there's also, I don't know where that other one is. I'm not really sure. But go check out his channel, and you can watch. If you can watch this on your own computer, it's not going to get laggy. Like I said before, I have another video. Maybe I'll just bring it up so you can get an idea of a more higher resolution, because this color of this water is just very, very interesting to me. So there are dive shops. There are also wreck dives. I think there's at least 3 or 4 big wrecks at various locations around the island. And go check out some of those videos, because those wrecks are really, really cool, and you get that blue water effect. This one, they're going to be diving at the beach at Praia de... Hold on one second here. Let's go here. And how do we pronounce this again? Let's see. Oh man, I'm starting to feel a little sweaty. Like my body's really trying to fight something.
Zimbralinho.
Okay, let's do it again.
Praia do Zimbralinho.
Praia do Zimbralinho. Praia Beach, so Zimbralinho Beach. And this is the one that we were looking at briefly before. So that's where they're going to go diving. And this video will give you a pretty good idea of just the color of the water. I sped it up 2 times. And you can see the volcanic peaks in the background. They got this thing loaded up. Look how many people they got, like a dozen people on this relatively small boat. And here you go. And this is what it looks like. It's got that blue color. Some of them have lights. There's a dozen of them. And there's just this underwater canyons. This is right off the beach. What are they in? 40 feet of water? Not much. And they're cruising around. And you'll notice that there's some plant. Looks like there's some plants there, underwater plants, but there's not really coral, or at least not coral that I'm familiar with. To me, it's more about the underwater topography, and also the color and the light and the water. And there's also a lot of fish, although in this video you don't see many. You see that? You see that water? It's a different kind of blue than the water you'll see in like the Caribbean or the Bahamas. I mean, the water down there is blue too, but there's something different about this. And it's all about the topography. What are they at, 40 or 50 feet? Doesn't look like there's much of a current. You can also snorkel. This would be great for free diving too, right? And you just go around underwater near this beach, and there's all kinds of cool little slots and canyons and little overhang caves. It's all just this bare, desolate, rocky, underwater, geoscape. I don't know what you want to call it. To me, this is geotourism. Like I said, there are wrecks there too, and they're cruising along, and they get into this area, and then you can really see the open water. And you see here, you got that, you got this. It's kind of a shaky video, which is why I really, really, really want to show you guys the other video, but I can't, because it would just be an exercise in frustration. It's like an army of divers, right? Look at that. And you could just explore. Just go in every little nook and cranny, check it out. Now, some people wouldn't like this. They'd be like, well, there's nothing to see here. It's just a bunch of rocks. And don't get me wrong, I like coral too. I've been on dives where, the coral is the main attraction. It's pretty cool. I like fish. but the light and the color and the rocks, there's a fish there. That's what really does it for me. Look at that. So they're coming, it's almost like a boom, boom. It's almost like a staircase. So they're coming up from here and coming back up closer to the surface. It just goes and goes and goes. Because if you look at pictures of Zimbralinho from the surface, you can kind of see what these people were diving into. And that's basically that. And again, that's Carlos Neves. That's one. He's got more videos. Go check out his channel. Now, all right, so let's go ahead and try to look at one of these other videos. Which one is it? I think it's this one. But I'm not going to do too much because, again, I'm going to be pulling my hair out because we're going to have to kick this one way back, unfortunately, to get it to. I mean, we're already at 360. Oh, it's embarrassing, quite frankly. I'm embarrassed. All right, so let's go ahead and try to look at one of these other videos. So one of my immediate thoughts was when you look at the one side of the island, is that well, my first question was, well, are there any lava tubes? And we actually do have one more video after. The good video is going to come after this. This is a good video too, but like I said, with the lag, when you look at that coastline, immediately you're like, okay, well, what's going on there? Are there any lava tubes there? I didn't find any evidence of lava tubes. I read an article explicitly said that there are no lava tubes. There are the little, like the grutas, which are just these little pocket caves. And we'll see them in the upcoming video. But I did find this one video, scuba diving gruta in Porto Santo, Madeira. Porto Santo. I'm pretty sure this is on Porto Santo, Madeira. And it says Madeira because it's part of the Madeiran archipelago. And so there, I thought, well, maybe, who knows? There could be lava tubes that you have to hit from underwater and then come up to. Sure enough, that's what happens in this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just play it. And this really does a better job of showing the color. The resolution is so bad. But basically this video, and I will link it in the description, these guys go into a large cave at about, 60, 70, 80 feet of depth. They go up into it. And what happens? Let's see. Let's get a little light here. You see that? I don't even know if this is working. They go up into this, and there's actually an air pocket. So they're down 80 feet. They go into the cave, and they come up this big passage, and there's an air pocket, and then they leave through a different part of the cave. So my guess is that there are a lot of these type of features all up and down. It's like a 4-mile section of the coast where it's kind of battered by the waves, but the viz is good, and I can't imagine it's all been sussed out. So if you wanted to go to an island like this and find some new stuff, you probably could if you're willing to put the work in. Getting to these locations obviously would be much easier by boat. So you'd have to have some stuff set up. Scuba diving gruta in Porto. Go watch this video. If you don't watch any other videos that I'm passing along today, watch this one and watch it in high def, because full screen, you'll get full on saturated blue, beautiful blue, and you'll see the inside of this cave. Okay, so we're going to close this episode out with a really cool video. The channel is called Voltas do Mundo. Do Mundo probably means the world in Portuguese, I'm going to say. And the title of this is Porto Santo conheces. I have no idea what that means. The other side, mapping Madeira, Voltas do Mundo. So go check out this. Go check out the underwater cave one, and then go watch this one. Obviously, full screen, high def. We're watching it in low def. to take care of the lag. There is no sound because I don't want to deal with that. I'm just going to watch this whole video and just it'll speak for itself. Oh, look at that. You can see a plane coming in. Okay. So this, first off, this is the Gruta, the caves at the top of Pico de Ferrara, right? And with the sunset, you standing there. There's lots of drone footage in this. And the Voltas de Mundo, they just did a really good job on this video. It gets you excited. You're like, get me on a plane. Get me to Porto Santo stat. Oh, man. And there are, there's another. So there's like these little pocket caves. And this is at the top of the mountain, at the top of the Pico. And there's the beach. There's the healing sands of the beach. And they're just like running. They're like, let's just run on top of all these mountains there. What did you see? Wait, hold on. You see that? What was that? It kind of reminds me of Hawaii in a way. It's not as green, but it has that same topography. And it's just zooming, and then you're on top of the mountains. They're climbing. Look at this guy. He's running the prismatic basalt, columnar basalt. He's running up the side of this mountain like a billy goat. Just like a billy goat. Good exercise, too. And there's trails. There's trails there. Lots of trails. They like wooden handrails. There's that little sea stack right out there. And you can see the shallow points, right? There's that little island. There's that little James Bond island. More billy goat action. Now, there is some vegetation. The vegetation has got different colors, too. And you can just go up and just run around. There's some ruins. It's just total Porto Santo vibe here. And that's that coastline. Do you see that? And here, I think this is the tidal pools at that one location. What was the name of that? Yeah, the volcanic Porto de Frades. I think that's what that is, right? You go there at the right time, and that's what it looks like. And again, there is some of the limestone sandstone, but it's mostly volcanic stuff. And they're still running. Oi, oi, oi. And you got the, that lens, it's like you're going to fall right off. I mean, don't you just want to go here? I wonder how long it takes to fly to Porto Santo from, BWI. I don't know. And there, oh, hold on. There, okay, so this is where, I'm going to zoom in right there. So again, here's the 9-kilometer beach. So this would be like looking towards, this is looking towards Pennsylvania, and then back over here would be Morocco, and then down here would be Madeira. But I think this is the port, and they have these break walls here. And this is where you get some, I guess, not big cruise boats. You get some boats in here, and also the dive outfits. I think some of them are located right there. I'm not sure what that thing is right there at the top. And here's the sandy parts. I think up here I want to say this is where the Doña Beja's crack is, because this kind of looks sandy, doesn't it? That's the crack right there. And there's got to be more. And see, one of the things, there's got to be more of this stuff. Like a lot of places, you see the popular spot, then you go to the next one, and most people, that's just what they do, and that's what they do. But if I was to go to this island, you would go see these things, but then you'd branch out, because there's probably more of these type of cracks, these type of slot canyons. Even though it's a small island, and I don't know what the situation is, can you just wander around? Honestly, there's got to be plenty of places you can go. You could probably find more of this stuff. Underwater caves, slot canyons. I mean, So if you're willing to spend a couple weeks, you could uncover probably a lot more cool features. And look at this. Yeah, see, here we are again. This is where I think the crack is. I don't know if this is soil creep. You see these little ridges here? And right here, if you look, you can see they're running down. It's like sand dunes. You got some ruins, and you got the coast. This is like, it's not, I wouldn't call it tropical though. See, some people, they want to go to an island like this and they want green, they want jungle, they want, afternoon rainstorms and the sun coming through and rainbows. And don't get me wrong, I love all that stuff. You're not going to find that lush vegetation here, but you're going to find that sparse kind of scrubby stuff. But that itself has a whole aesthetic, right? I think it looks amazing. There's the beach. And here's the, I guess that's one of the main, they got a little pier there. That is it. And that's going to be it for this video. If you had a good time, please hit subscribe, follow me on all the platforms, ding dong the bell, all that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed this location. I know I did. Maybe at some point we'll do a video on Madeira. Madeira, that's like the 800-pound gorilla in the room. I think Madeira, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's like Porto Santo on steroids. It's bigger. It's got lava tubes. Probably has more diving. I think there's more vegetation. There's more history. There's more culture. Oh, and another thing was that I think on the cultural standpoint, I think that there's a museum in Porto Santo dedicated to Christopher Columbus because he actually lived there. He actually lived on this island of Porto Santo for a while. And I'm focused on the geology, the geotourism, right? That's really what it's about. These kind of videos are about geotourism, but there's the whole culture side and the cuisine. Go dig yourself down into that sand, get some of that. Maybe I've got low strontium levels. Maybe that's why I'm getting sick up here in the north with this gray. The sun's coming out a little bit today. It's starting to kick up, but like I said, I'm fighting something off. So that's going to be it for today. I'm just gonna eat lunch and then I'm gonna start editing. I got to go in a little bit. I got to go out. My son has a bocce ball game today out there in Spring Grove. Obrigado for watching this video. I think obrigado is the one word I really knew in Portuguese, which is, I think, thank you. Obrigado for watching my videos. And I will see everyone in the next episode.